So, question for you. As we get started here, how would you like to do a little bit of alternate nostril breath together just to
Yep.
kind of synchronize? How does that feel?
Sounds good. Yeah. And I probably need it because, you can probably hear my voice like the nasal, more like, I don't know, like different voice, right? But it's all part of the grief too. And I'm like, this is life. This is how it is. It's never going to be perfect. So, yeah, here I am. But
Yeah,
thank you for offering that. That would be great. Yeah.
absolutely. It's going to be helpful for me to fully land as well. There's
Okay.
so many things going on. I'm
I feel it.
learning to just be still and let everything go fast around me.
Yes, yeah. Since Friday, which was interesting because it was my son's birthday. His 11th birthday, and 11 is a very big number for me, as it was for Vanessa and other sisters. But since that day, I felt like I've been in a portal, and just like not like I feel grounded and I feel here, but it's like I don't know what has been happening with time. It's like a big threshold. And then yesterday was like a culmination of it too, in a way, because I still feel a lot of energies. But it's just been like, I'm here, but at the same time, it's like, I'm not here, you know? It's
Yeah.
weird.
It's
Yeah.
a
So,
it,
yeah.
it's a whole new world.
Yes, yes. Yeah, definitely. But
I
yeah, I'm
I
here.
feel that when I was messaging you and talking about time and how I'm
Mm-hmm.
just really letting go of time, it's
Yeah,
like there is like there's something really interesting that's happening is it's just like it's awareness being like awake and like time doesn't it really doesn't matter.
right.
It's just presence and it happens when you're sleeping, like awareness
Mm-hmm.
and presence when you're sleeping, like when you're awake, when you're meditating, when it's like it's just like being present and like awareness online.
Yeah,
And the day of the time, it really matters not.
I know. I know. Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to my husband earlier because he works from home, but he's going back to the office, because of a new whatever politics. But he's like, "Oh, I have a Zoom meeting and this and that," and I'm like, "What is a schedule? Like, what do you mean? Like, I don't even feel like you can be like, I need to do this, at certain time when your body is doing something else. Your body is like." I want to lay down in the grass. I want to just cry. I want to just drink water and stare at the void, whatever. And he's like, well, it's schedules. And he reminded me of something which is amazing. But he's like, well, nature has schedules too. Like we have the cycles. And I'm like, that is true, but nature makes it so much like fluid and like so much like the rhythm is just like, okay, here we go. Winter, spring, autumn, summer, all of that. But yeah, it's like the schedules that we have created are so interesting.
Yes,
Like my body sometimes is like, no, what do you mean I have to eat at this time? I'm not hungry.
that's that. I'm right there with you. I'm experiencing this in a different way, and it's I've been looking at like where the calendar comes from.
Yeah.
Right, like where the Gregorian calendar comes from that makes us start on the first of the year in January, which feels to me very much like a resting time,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
a resting, quiet, inwardly listening poetry around the fire, gazing, quiet, quiet, quiet time.
Right.
It's like and I start to see like I mean it's the linear or the linear calendar doesn't work, but the circular, the lunar calendar, like there's like a lot of good feeling and like there's something there for me to explore. And I'm not
Right.
even sure how to explore it so much as I feel like I already am, and there's more to explore about this like circular lunar rather than this straightforward Gregorian, everything's moving forward calendar.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Completely agree. And yesterday was the new moon and the new lunar year. So
Hmm.
it's I always trust the timing and I'm still working on it, but like the control piece and like the planning piece, has been so big for me to just trust. And when I started trusting, at least with more awareness, like I feel like everything just lines up perfectly, like, and I feel like this conversation, the first day of the new year or the second, I don't know what technically would be, but yeah, yeah, just the moons and how everything happens and the timing and everything. It's just beautiful too. Yeah.
Yes. And it needs a resting. We have to rest into it. And that's been the biggest challenge for me, especially as so many things going on. It's like, and I'm in you with your children and homeschooling. And it's like there are things that need to get done. And how do we rest back into that and like
Right.
and move through that in a receptive way
Hmm.
versus a like rushing to the next thing kind of way.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's where that flow exists. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. With the kids, it's a whole different story, and it's something that does not wait. Like I've been tired, I've been sick, and you still have to mother, and it's like, what am I doing? Like, I cannot just lay down for 8 hours. Like, no, it's like, mommy this, mommy that. And when they were little, it's like the wiping and the this and the that. And I've had like a taste of that or a remembering of that because they're 8 and 11 now. Um, but then being kind of down this weekend, it reminded me of that. I'm like, how did I do it? Because now I can take a nap, I can take a 2 hour nap, an hour nap, or whatever, and they're fine. But before, I'm like, I don't remember how I did it. Like it's, I don't know. I did it, but like I just don't remember how. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was like a definitely was an alter state for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's get into a little bit of alternate nostril breath.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll just go ahead and teach it for those who are listening along as well if they'd like to join us. So your peace fingers can rest on forehead center, or you can use the hand kind of like a gun, right, where your thumb and your pointer finger move the breath. Yeah. So just let that right hand come up. Eyes can close or gaze can go down towards your lap, and just take a normal breath in, and then exhale through the nose. Breathe in to begin. On the exhale, cover the right nostril. Exhale through the left. Inhale, stay left side. Exhale, change. Cover the left. Exhale through the right. So you'll keep going just like that, breathing in and changing nostrils on the exhale. Smoothing out the inhale, smoothing out the exhale. Leaning into this breath as a resting and a grounding into the moment, a synchronization, an invitation to slow down the thoughts. Just deepening the breath. You got about 20 more seconds here. As you find yourself exhaling through the left nostril, just exhale fully and completely for letting the hands come down to the lap. It's nice to breathe. Yeah, it's nice to breathe. So we have an event coming up, you and I, in
Yeah.
February. Yeah, where we're gonna share breath and share cacao. And my question for you is, well, tell me about how you came into holding and being a holding mother cacao and journeying with cacao.
That's one of my favorite things to talk about. And at the same time, I feel like the answer always changes. Not that the truth changes, it's just what comes up or what's most alive, at the moment. But to talk in timing, as we're talking about timing, being Mexican native and just from the culture and everything, I remember chocolate just always, always being present, all the time, whether it was holidays or Dia de los Reyes, which is the King's Day, a lot of the religious, I guess, gatherings, and there was always chocolate. And it's also interesting because in the part where I'm from, I was born in northern Mexico. So our Mexican culture is very different from the South. So we did not have the real cacao, the real natural cacao all the time. We had the tablets, which they come in a processed way. And I never knew this, but like cacao was always, or chocolate for me was always happiness, always happiness. If there was chocolate, I'm like, chocolate, hot chocolate. Um, and it was like so yummy, and like it will make you just melt and like feel cozy, and it will make me feel loved too. Like I remember like if there was hot chocolate, had Mexican chocolate in the table, was because there was gonna be bread and there was gonna be celebration. And my mom was in at home because my mom worked all my life, all my childhood. So having that is like, yes, it feels so good and cozy. But later on, and we also had like champurrado and atole, which sometimes is chocolate flavor. But later in my adult life, like, come to find out, all of that was, what the Spanish brought to us, that form of chocolate, which I still cherish, and I think it's still very precious and very yummy in so many ways. And I cherish those memories. But when it comes to the medicine, how I like to call it, the medicine of cacao, now, it was in 2021 when I met the tree for the first time in Costa Rica, and it wasn't planned. It's one of those things that was not planned. We were there for Thanksgiving with one of my soul sisters, her family, my family, and she's like, "Do you want to go to this cacao ceremony?" And I'm like, What is that?" It's like, "Well, the hotel is offering it. Let's just go check it out." And I'm like, "Okay." So we get there, and it's a yoga studio in the hotel, and the practitioner or the facilitator is like, "Well, I'm just here feeling out. I don't know what I'm doing." Because the actual facilitator was sick or was out, for the day. And she's like, "But I'll try to do my best, and we're gonna try the cacao, and actually let's just go and meet the tree." So we get up, we walk, it's Costa Rica, so everything is lush and beautiful and green. So we're looking at different palm trees and flowers. And then we get to this tree, and my amazement when I saw it was like, what? How? Like, how does chocolate comes from here? Like how, that every time I share this, or I share a picture of the cacao pot or something, people are like, what? No, like that's not true. Like, how does it come from here? So she shows us the tree. I see the pots, the beautiful colors. And then when we go back to the studio, she shares the actual fruit. And that was like my first experience with the fruit. Like nothing to do with the chocolate, how a chocolate tastes, how cacao tastes, It's this rich, a little slimy, pulp fruit. But when I ate it, Nicole, it was, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It's just it's a flavor that I cannot explain specifically, but it's like sweet and tangy, kind of like a mango-ish flavor
Okay.
note.
Really?
Yeah, so and the seed is this big, but it doesn't really have that much pulp. It's or some people like to say meat. But you put it in your mouth and you kind of like just go at it and the flavor is there. And the meat kind of like a mango seed, right? Like the meat
Yeah.
never really comes off. It's more like I guess hairy or fuzzy or something. Um, so that was like definitely an experience. And then she gives us the cacao, and it's definitely very mild, very delicious, and it had no sugar. So that was completely new for me. It was very, very eye-opening, and I feel after that was just my world completely changed. Like how is this something that I knew all my life, but I did not really know, the origin, the tree, the anything about it. So fast forward to 2022, when I started holding women's circles officially or for the community, I contacted a couple of sisters that did cacao circles in town. And yeah, the experience was beautiful. It was so rich. Everybody does it differently, They share it with their heart, they share it with their touch. But part of me was still like, I want to know more. Like I know that we can sit in a circle. I know that we can have this medicine, but where is it coming from? Like I didn't know who was working with that cacao tree, who was praying to the land if they were actually doing that. Who touched this, like who made it. And there was not a lot of answers back then, at least the people that I talked to or the people that I asked. So that just like, you know what, I need to go. And so I went deep into, just finding out more. I came across different sources, and I guess the biggest thing that I came across back then was the people from Guatemala, because it seems like there's the region or one of the regions that are holding the cacao medicine very close to their hearts, and it's like a everyday thing for them, It's not just special occasions or anything, like it's their livelihood, their daily life. Even though I want to point out that the Mayan people or the Mayan culture or the Mayan spirituality, the cacao is not actually everything for them or like the main thing. They call themselves more like the timekeepers, right? They're timekeepers, not just for the cacao medicine. But yeah, after that, like I just started reading more, knowing more people, knowing more connections. And then when I went to Guatemala in 2023, November 2023, yeah, that was like, okay, I'm home. I'm home. And at the same time, I felt so privileged to be there, and as many other people do. But at the same time, it got me this sense of responsibility too, of like sharing from them, not from me. It's kind of like just a bridge. And at the same time, it's understanding that I'm not going to be able to understand everything in my lifetime, and I will probably never do, right? Like they're
No matter how
holding
hard
that
we try.
medicine. Yes, yes. Yeah. They're holding that medicine for generations, for families, and they're still like so humble, and they say like we are only, messengers. We don't know. The medicine is, the wisdom. The medicine is um the shaman. The medicine is everything. We are just, carriers of the message. So that really humbled me too, because I could get very logical or wanting to have all the answers. And at the same time, I have gotten many answers. But the more I read into it, the more I research, the more I talk to different people in the path, the more that I don't know, that I know that I don't know. So yeah, it's just a beautiful connection.
That's one
I
of my
think
favorite ways that you know that you're on the right path is when you start to you start to know you just realize how much you really don't know.
yes, yes,
Beginning
yeah.
to learn is like just tells you more of the scope of all that you don't know. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, yeah. And taking classes with them, and I have a couple teachers from Guatemala that I talk to once in a while, and it's like there's this is so vast. It's like, it's like the cosmos. I only know a tiny little fraction of everything that is out there, and I'm happy with that. I'm also not going to get into the like a mentality of like I need to know more or I need to know everything, I'm just trusting that whatever needs to come to me or through me will make it, and at the same time understanding that maybe not everything is for me to share, or for me to understand, like I said before. So yeah, yeah.
You
And
talk about Guatemala, it gets me real excited. Like my legs are shaking over here, and I'm getting because Guatemala is. I've traveled to San Marcos, and
yes.
I was out there for 3 months at one time, and it was the first land that I ever got to know and experience, and it's so unbelievably beautiful.
Yeah,
Like just
yeah,
so to be able to walk through the forest by the light of the moon is one of the most magical experiences ever.
I know.
I
Yeah,
mean, don't need a flashlight, like just it is so beautiful. And the feeling that I had, I was very surprised when we went to Guatemala. It's the most I have ever felt like home.
yeah,
And I was knocked out by that. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. The land is absolutely beautiful. And the people and the joy that runs through the people in Guatemala is, I mean, it's beautiful.
yeah. That's exactly the same feeling I had when I arrived. The first farm we went, back in November of 2023. I'm like, I'm home, I'm home. This feels like home. And it reminded me so much of where my grandma used to live and where my mom and my dad are, in a small town in Tamaulipas. But just the feeling and the way that they embrace you and the way that they just welcome you, and they offer you everything they have, like all their food, and like they give you this big food plate and corn tortillas, freshly made. um yeah, yeah, they're just amazing, and they want to know you. Like they actually want to know you. They ask about your family, about what music you like, all of that. Like the people are really just curious about who you are. Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. So I'm excited to go back, and yeah,
And
the
when
the
you are
place.
traveling like to and from Guatemala, are you bringing the cacao back with you?
Yes, what I can. Yes. I try to take as much as I can, possibly, and so much I can get, because it is definitely cheaper, and at the same time, that's what I try to do from home too. Like from here, I try to buy it from the source that I know it's going to be more or less handled,
Mhm.
so I don't buy in bulk too much, but I do buy some bulk where it's like, okay, this is definitely worth it. I 8, 10 pounds, whatever I can. So I'm trying to stay in that route, because the money going directly to them, it's like so helpful. I know of other companies that have been very misleading, where you buy their cacao, but you don't really know how much money is going to the actual families. And there's a lot of abuse too, and a lot of misconceptions of, just because it says it's indigenous, or if it's from Guatemala or Mexico, or whatever, like you never know how much money they're actually getting, and if it's coming from one source. Yeah, sometimes it can be, it can be a mix, so you never really know what you're getting. So I do feel like there's a difference there when and I don't mean that I have to know every single family in person, but at least knowing, that it's coming from that family or from this region or something. It does make a difference every time I prepare the cacao. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like a
That
life.
direct connection, it is beautiful for not only support of the very hands that are, working the land, but also, your connection to the land. And
Yes.
that's like, in your reverence for the plant and your reverence for the land and your reverence for all of that really comes through in the ceremony circle. Right.
Yeah.
It's such an active connection, and it's really beautiful to behold and be part of. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And honestly, like every cacao talks differently. I will say they all talk the same way, of course, with the heart and in so many beautiful ways. But um to what you're speaking about, yes, like every time I get a cacao for a specific intention or prayer, and if I happen to have, I don't know, four different ones, like I tune in and I'm like, okay, well, speak to me. And the one that wants to do that ceremony, like I get out of the way, right? Like I listen. And I'm like, the one that wants to go to that ceremony, like knows why. And then I'm like, okay, I don't ask questions. And later on, I understand why, the different energy that it carries. For example, I haven't gotten lava love in a while, but just to give you an example, lava love grows very closely to the volcanoes in Guatemala. I forget the name of the volcanoes, but it has a lot of that fire energy of the volcano, the ancient, fire. And every time we use that cacao, there was a reason for it. And usually it had a lot of masculine energy too, which other cacaos don't have it as much. So it's just so interesting to see how they communicate and how they each block knows what energy is carrying or the magic that has inside. And it's like, okay, this is my time to shine in this ceremony or for these people. And every time is magic and perfect. Yeah.
So, question for you, is there something, given the state that we're experiencing and the feeling space that we're experiencing in the 2025, what an interesting year it's already been. Um, is there an intention or a prayer or like what feels right for you for this experience we're having, the cacao and the breath work, to set as an intention or a prayer moving into that space?
I think for me, what I'm feeling is clarity because there's a lot of things coming at us at all time. I mean, you just said it's 2025 and it's hasn't been a month, right?
Yeah.
Almost 1 month. It feels like it's been years of
Yes, yeah, it's
2025. But at the same time, I find myself like this and this, like we're just being bombarded with so many things. I don't know if bombarded is a word that I want to use, but the just the amount of things coming at us, right? And one of the things that I've been sitting with is like, okay, what can I handle right now? What can I give my energy to? And sometimes we want to do too much, and I've done it. But having that peace and that sacred pause to be okay, I'm pausing, I'm gauging my energy, I'm gauging what I can do, what I can handle, and then I'm going for it instead of, all the movement and here and there, and then exhausting myself. And then also the guilt of like not doing enough. Definitely trying to not welcome that because we all can do something. We all can, even if it's just healing our families or healing ourselves, like that definitely matters. So definitely clarity and support from whatever, community, from families, from the spirit realm, from the ancestors, the angels, from the medicines, and so that we can continue, because definitely it can get very tiring.
Mhm.
It has getting tiring for me just to hear different things and just to have so many different things to grieve, as a community, as a sister, as a friend, um, as a mother and wife. So having that support from the medicine is it feels sacred, and it feels very, very important right now, because we are here and we are the chosen ones, and we have to continue, but definitely taking the sacred pause to have the clarity and to remember that we have the support, um, that is very valuable for sure to continue on the path.
Yeah. And what I love about this work is that Vanessa, you and Vanessa did this together. And
Yeah.
that and to have these like practices and to have these like sacred practices and these sacred rites and these sacred ceremonies and these sacred circles. That's
Yeah.
like what we are creating with the community around us, what you and I are creating, what you and Vanessa are creating, what Vanessa and I are creating. It's like all of those things, that feeling space, and that feeling space is always there.
Yes.
She's never left this work. She's never left this circle. She's never, and it's that is so incredibly beautiful that it's these experiences that connect us and that
Yeah.
weave us together.
Yeah. Yeah. And her energy is, she's always there. Even when her physical body was still here, she was always there when she wasn't. We were always talk about that. And now that she has transitioned, I can see her working, of course, with her family and with so many of us, and we can all just hear her, like just as she's there, and with her own words, and with her own spark and everything, her own beautiful energy. And yeah, she was a big carrier of the medicine of cacao, and every single time she would like bring me my cacaocito, with the roses and the blue lotus. So yeah, yesterday we had a laugh about that too, because we served her cacao first at the tree, and then the wind blew, so her picture kind of like almost tumbled, and I'm like, okay, she's happy. And at the same time I see, every time I open a cacao block for ceremony or for circle, I also look at the images that it has, and it's so beautiful to see like how the shape, sometimes it can be, it feels like it's a group of ancestors, sometimes it can be a bird, sometimes it can be like clouds or stars. It's so beautiful to see. So I feel like the people that are working with the medicine, that are sending the medicine, they always infuse their love and their prayers too. So that feels very special. And I feel like when I bring those blocks here, like I'm just a bridge, but just knowing that the people actually care, that is so special. Like, I don't know how, that's not something I can replace. That's not something I can buy. Like, I've seen them, how they package it, how they like care. They go to do their ceremonies on the trees. They're laughing while they're working with the cacao beans, and there's just so much love. There's love is, limitless for them, and they're sharing it. Is like, oh my gosh, it's like getting a big hug from all of the Guatemalan grandmas, tatas, nanas. It's so beautiful. Yeah, so so beautiful. So
The power of prayer. It's the power
yeah,
of prayer and that
yeah,
community. When I, I think about hugs, right? I think about Vanessa. And then I also think about, like, I met the two of you together at SHIP, right? So we were at, I think it was Earth. No, it was Family of Origin.
yes, family of origin
And
in
you,
May last year. Yeah.
yes, yes. And what I feel from you and Vanessa in the biggest way is this, just like, is the Sacred Mother. like the sacred, loving, mother, nurturing energy. That's like, and I observe it in you in a big way as well. Like I was thinking about this today and about just if I don't have children and if I could have children, what an honor and a privilege to be able to not only have them and care for them, but then teach them.
Right.
Right. It's like to homeschool and to teach. And I was admiring the fact that that really is the power of the mother in its ability to shape.
Right.
And that I mean shape and form, and it's like and motherhood at times in like a Western culture can feel like it's more task oriented, and
Right.
and there is a lot going on, but it's also one of the most amazing and beautiful things to just single-handedly shape the future. And I think that that can get lost. And I see that in you, and I see that in Vanessa. And
Mm.
it's a beautiful, nurturing, like loving, hugging, like I got you, like beautiful experience.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you brought something very important to my awareness right now because that's something that we really spoke a lot. Um, Vanessa, I, other couple sisters, that the the ways that we've chosen to raise our family or to raise our kids is not easy. Is not easy. And I'm not also saying that motherhood, in general is not easy. Parenthood in general is not easy. But the homeschooling portion or the unschooling or the half school and half homeschooling, whatever it looks for every family. Um, what we talked about specifically with the homeschooling and I guess not being part of big unities or I want to say institutions, it's a big, it can feel very heavy sometimes because it's very easy to, and I've done it. My son has gone to school, and it's like, okay, send him to school and forget about it. Basically, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know who's teaching them. I don't know that. And at the same time, I know that that's something that helps a lot of families, and that we need those institutions for so many families for so many reasons. But at the same time, it's both and we can see both. I guess both sides, um, having the responsibility of teaching or raise a different way because we don't know what the future is bringing, right? We don't know what's going to happen. But Vanessa and I talked about this is I cannot parent a different way. Like every time I will send my son to school, like my heart, Nicole, was like, I don't know who's talking to him. I don't know what they're telling him. I don't know what, like my heart was just not at peace.
Mm.
And I know that there's so many good people out there, and we had so many good teachers and many good people, but there was something in me that was just not settle, with that. And it took some time to understand, like, is it my control or is it something else, something bigger? So in our gatherings and at the park with the kids just playing and us doing life, we will say like we're doing life. We'll still say that, right? Like we gather and we're doing life. The kids are playing in nature and we're just talking as friends and sisters. um but letting our kids see that side of life, that like you spoke about the schedules,
Yep.
because when my son was in school, it's like whether he slept 8 hours, 10 hours, 6 hours, you gotta get out, get up, and we go to school. My heart just like, like, no, but why? Like, and 5 times a week, 5 days a week and
Yeah.
schedule. And then he will be out for like 10, 12 hours a day because pick up and drop off and then come home. There was no time for him to be a kid to play. And it probably changes as they grow up, but we have been looking at different sources also how as they grow up into teenagers, that's usually when they kind of like lose a lot of their spirit and a lot of their
Sure.
creativity
And their
and their
voice, their
passion.
seeing, and their hearing, and
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
intuition. And yes,
Yes. And for me was like, is that really just because they're teenagers or is because they have gotten accustomed to like this is where I'm part of, like this is the system that I'm part of, so I'm
yeah.
like why do I care anymore, you know? So and I'm not saying that that's the final answer for all of that, but it made me think of that. And
And it's also not to say that children who are in in that systematic way of schooling don't have their don't or have their intuition or don't have their intuition as well.
of course,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And there is so much I never want to say that my thinking is, you know, the right way or the wrong way. Like we change, we transform as the year comes, every year that comes. But it definitely makes me think that leading with the heart, mothering with the heart, and with our intuition is has been one of the biggest things for me, for Vanessa, for other sisters, and yeah, it's also a big lesson I think for the kids too. Like, what are we going to do, and how can we do it? And community is a big part of that community because if I didn't have my sisters and other homeschool families and groups. And yeah, it's almost not impossible, but it's very heavy, which is already heavy in some sense, you know, because there's a lot of doubts and a lot of fears too, like, am I doing enough? Or am I doing the right thing for my kid or my other kids? So yeah.
And speaking of community, you have cultivated this amazing community, Goddess Heart. And tell me how that started. How did that start and begin? And how long have you been, holding circles and developing that community?
So that started officially in May of 2022. I held my first circle at Nourish Healing Collective, and I thought it was just going to be one-time thing, honestly. I remember it was called the Healing the Mother Wound Circle, and a lot of friends were there. Vanessa was there. And I did that circle because I finished a certification with Global Sisterhood, and one of the homework to get your certificate basically was to hold a circle, right? And when I finished, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do the circle, but it just felt so natural to me after I was done and everybody was so happy and I'm like why can't I just do this more often? So it became a monthly thing for that year, and then it turned into 2023. I was doing I think two a month, and yeah, it's just started growing and moving and changing. And there has been a lot of changes, of course, from that first circle. But at the same time, I look back and I'm like, everything was just as it needed to be. And it
Mhm.
will continue as it needs to be. But I am very grateful that I started that. And honestly, with the women's circles is something so dear to my heart because when I was going through my one of my dark nights of the soul, as a mother, actually in 2019, um, I went to a women's circle here in town, and I remember just getting there, Nicole. Like I had so much going on, so much emotional things in my body, like I was just holding to so many things and I didn't have a lot of tools. So I went to that women's circle back then, and I just remember it was my turn to speak. I just started like bawling my eyes out and crying and talking about just I don't remember what I talked. I remember I was just so emotional. But after that, like I left feeling like I need more of these. Like why don't we have more of these spaces? So
Yeah,
fast
those
forward.
circles are really, really beautiful. Just that space of deep listening, like just allowing yourself to speak what is true and for people to look you in the eyes and hear it.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
is just in and of itself is so extremely powerful.
Yes. Yeah. And I remember none of the women there were judging me. Nobody said try to fix me or say, anything. And I remember feeling like, is this okay? Like, but I was like, no, this is how it is. They're just witnessing. And yeah, when I learned that and I saw the magic and I felt the magic in me, the medicine too, it's like we need more of these, more of these. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that was the inspiration for sure for how Goddess Heart started.
One of the things that is beautiful to me with the Goddess Heart is how reciprocal, like there's this air of reciprocity within that community, even in like sharing things. And like that is absolutely beautiful. People can be guarding of their communities, guarding of, oh, only what I want to put forth, or and there's such a place of just sharing what is good, what is helpful, what is loving, what is events, what people are sharing, what people are doing in the community. And that allows such a larger conversation and a larger group of people to come through.
Right.
That spirit of reciprocity is awesome.
Yeah, thank you. And what comes up for me when I hear you saying that is one of the I guess, intentions or reasons why it was called God is Hard or is called God is Hard is not about me, is about everybody. Is when I was in my studies in my trainings for facilitating, and we went so deep. But one of the things that really impacted me was how us as women were functioning in a masculine energy many times,
Yeah.
because we have both. But
Yeah.
that really opened my eyes and how inviting the Divine Mother, into our lives, into our heart, and have both, or have one together, masculine and feminine. But growing up as Catholic, it was always like the male God, the male God, the male this, and we have the Virgen of Guadalupe, which is beautiful and another, big icon for our culture. And at the same time, we always thought of God as man. So God as heart is that part of we we are inviting the Divine Mother. We are not forgetting about, the Divine Mother, the goddess in all of us, not just women, in all of us. And yeah, part of that is thinking of the feminine of the mother. Like the mother wants the good for everybody and wants everybody to, talk and get along. And, sometimes it doesn't happen, it's okay. But it's also that part of looking at things in a different way, like not in a competition, not in a capitalistic way. It's like there's enough for everybody. There's always going to be enough. Like a mother's table, there's always going to be food. There's always going to be cacao. There's
Yes.
always abundance. So,
What I
yeah,
love about what you're saying with Goddess Heart is it's a very similar story with Blue Heart, right? Blue Heart is the Divine Mother. Blue Heart is the heart of Mother Mary. And it's an interesting the talk thing to talk about because when I tell people about it, especially when I tell men, there isn't a resonance with the men that I have talked about. And I'm like, but it's the same thing as you're saying, it's not just feminine. This isn't just for women. It's like this is 100% for and including the masculine. And that's the biggest difference between, right? That's the biggest difference between the like a matriarchal living and a patriarchal living is that it's like the matriarch really is, as you're saying, is open to everyone and has a seat at the table for everyone. And it's like, even as I see things healing and see things kind of systems kind of coming apart around us, it's like the women who are stepping up, like even in like politics, it's like the women are stepping up in a very masculine way.
yeah,
And that's not the rightful resting place of the feminine.
right.
It's like if we're holding people accountable in ways like they still have a seat at the table. Right? That
Yes.
is we're holding you accountable. You're in trouble and come sit down at the table and talk with me. Let's have a
Yeah.
conversation. And that is much more of a mothering, like feminine welcoming than maybe something that's like, go sit in the corner. Like we can't
Right.
talk to you. Like the very like father, like
Yeah.
almost like divisive in a way. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And I definitely feel that. And it's funny that it reminded me one of the biggest questions or misconceptions I got from different people back in 2022 when I was talking about the women's circles and sisterhood circles. Some people thought that it was like a Coven or it was like a, you know, putting men down and, doing this. And I'm like, no, it's never been like that. It's never been um, an intention to do that. And unfortunately, it also came from some sisters or from some people that thought that that was the space. And I'm like, we are not here to blame anybody specifically. We are here to look at everything, and everybody has a voice and everybody can speak, and we can, figure it out together. That doesn't
And
mean
we
that
can
we will have.
listen. Yeah.
Yes, listen, yeah, but the whole blaming or always putting down, it was never a part of it, and it has never been, and it will never be, part
The
of
way,
our circles.
the way that it comes through to me is not at the expense of men, but at the expanse of mankind.
Right. Yeah, that's
Right.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, definitely. And to honestly, it started as women's circles and sisterhood circles because the a lot of my training was in that, not because we wanted to exclude men, but because there were these spaces that were needed for us to process different things that we could not express or process in a social setting, for example, at a party or maybe, at a coffee place or, a different social situation. And just having that space, I cannot tell you how many people that even if they just come once, it's like that just opened my eyes to so many things, to how to talk to people, to how to be with other people. So
yes. Yeah. So given that, people can also come and just observe and be quiet and don't have to share. Yeah, I mean, some of the most powerful shares that I've seen have been shares that somebody said nothing at all. I've been in circles where people have danced and people have sang. Excuse me. So yeah, so what can be expected and at something like our event?
yeah, definitely. The silence is always welcome. I've always say this is just an invitation and a space to be here, whether it's silence or talk, and share. Excuse me.
I'm feeling
Um,
it too.
I know,
In my
right? You're
throat.
speaking.
I'm feeling it too.
I know all this clearance with
Yeah.
clearing with this new moon. But yeah, I welcome the silence. I honor, and I just want to witness, everybody showing up as themselves. Yeah. For we cannot pinpoint or know everybody's path and where they're coming from. So just having that freedom of sitting in circle and not have to perform or to say anything. Excuse me. And also, like, being yourself goes beyond that, because even, in your everyday life, you can be yourself, but you're still doing so many things. But just having that space is kind of like having an excuse. I'm like, I'm gonna do whatever my body feels to do, you know. And with the breath work, your body's gonna tell you. You don't even have to think about it, you know, the breath is gonna tell you. And with the cacao too, I always say when you drink cacao, she's gonna show you whatever she needs to show you. Yeah, whatever's in your heart.
And the breath and the cacao are such a powerful mix. It's so powerful to move into your heart with the help of cacao. And that breath can often just come so much, just a little bit more easy or a little more gentle or a little softer in some way because the cacao is just really opened up into the heart space.
Right, yeah, yeah. And you know, with the cacao, I've told people like it can be tomorrow and she'll show you something. She'll definitely
Yeah.
show you something. Yeah,
Which is an invitation to set an intention, right? To come into the breath and come into the cacao, with something in your heart or something in your mind,
right.
or just a really strong intention. It's been really powerful for me to consider breath as prayer. Right. It's like, when I sit down to do a breathing sequence, or if I'm sitting down for somatic breath, or if I'm sitting down for breath circles, whatever the breath practice may be, there's usually something that I have with me, whether it's a feeling that I'd like to explore, or a thought line that I'd like to explore, a situation that I need clarity on. And it's like I bring that into my body and I breathe into that with the intention of opening it up in some way, having a solution come, or having an idea come, or resting back and just getting my mind out of the way, which can think me in all sorts of directions, and allowing the solution to come. And
Right.
that's been a beautifully powerful practice. So I'm
Yes.
really, I don't know, when I come into the cacao and the breath work, this time I know in a big way I'm bringing a feeling more than anything, to just kind of offer up, as it were, like as an offering or a surrender, uh, to just either deepen into or explore kind of in another way.
Definitely. Yeah. I know what you're saying, and it's just powerful to trust and to have that, you know, that feeling, that intention that you speak. And then the medicine of the breath and, you know, the medicine of cacao just takes you whatever it needs to and delivers, you know, the whatever is needed, whatever is that we might be missing too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. It's
Yeah.
really beautiful.
Yeah, my favorite with the cacao and the breath is like how my heart just like starts. I don't know, it's like a warming, but like if I can put a visual, it's just like little rays of heat coming out of my heart. It's like, okay, yeah. And it's, you know, it's that life force and the inner light too. I wanna say that too is it's beautiful to feel it and just to be grateful to be alive of that moment and to feel that it's like, wow, it can be so simple, but I miss it many times to remember that. It's like, this is here, like I'm alive, like this is my heart and it's beating, and but at the same time, like I can feel it. How can I do that? You know? And you reminded me of something I was talking with the kids, how about breath, how when we are in the belly of our mother, because we were looking at my son's pictures when he was born, and he turned 11 recently, and we're looking at the pictures of his birthday, and they said, so how I was breathing. So we were talking about like, well, you breathe in the water and this and that, and you have the umbilical cord. So then we come out, and I think it was my daughter that said, but like, so then why can we breathe underwater now? And I'm like, I I don't know, but that's a good question.
A
Yeah,
great
but
question.
yeah, just the power of that first breath and like how we're in the water inside, and then now we are outside and no, we cannot breathe underwater, but we have our breath and our breath is our life. So,
Our breath is our life.
yeah,
Yes, our breath absolutely is our life. Yeah. I'm so looking forward to this event.
yeah, me
I'm looking
too.
forward to wrapping you up in a big old hug.
Yes, yes, big, big hug, you know. And like you said, every time I hug someone now, I think of Vanessa
Oh
and
my
like,
goodness.
oh my goodness, yeah. So I'm so looking forward to it too. And I'll have some fresh cacao, hopefully, and yeah, some good medicine.
And so you're going to Guatemala upcoming soon.
Yes, yes, for Wayeb. It's a prayer festival or a prayer tradition of 5 days. It's my first time going for that, so I'm very excited.
Well,
It
that's going to
won't
be
be,
beautiful and extremely powerful. Again, with timing, that's incredible.
yes, yes, I'm very excited. It won't be as educational as the one I went in November in 2023. It's more ceremonial and more for prayer. So, but yeah, I'm excited and it's always so powerful, so intentional, so loving. Yeah, I'm so looking forward to it, and I
Beautiful.
needed to.
And to be on the land, right? I mean, it's that there's so much to be said about just the healing nature of your phone going off and shutting down the quiet of a Western life and a Western world and things to do, places to go. We've been talking about this. But
Yes,
it's like muting all of that and that just that conversation. And I think that's the one thing that that conversation and that connection to land and even medicine, like that plant medicine is medicine in your physical body. Like it's and even in cacao, like cacao is a feeling in your body. It's a different way of feeling your body.
yeah,
And that's the thing that I it's one thing to know that on a mental level, and it's another thing to experience that on a physical level. And to recognize in that connection and in that healing on a physical, in the body level, how powerful our connection to the earth is
yeah,
and how badly the reconnection is needed.
yes, yeah, yeah. One of the tatas that I consult sometimes, he's like, just remember that. And I've heard this before, but the way he explains it, it's beautiful. Just remember your vertical connection, right? You are a star. And it comes, and then travel down, and you're also a seed. So remember that your seed is planted in the earth, and that when things get heavy, that's many times we just want to go up and up and up. But we remember that you're still a seed. You're here. You're rooted here on earth. So that vertical connection is always, so powerful to remember because we tend to go sideways, horizontal, and yeah, it's like your connection is vertical with the creator and here on earth. So that's always a beautiful, star seed.
And that connection down into the earth is always for me an invitation to slow down.
Yes.
Slow down. That's the message that I get 10 times out of 10. Slow down. Well, my sister, I love you so much. I'm
Mm,
really happy to see you. I know that we're feeling many of the same things. And my prayers with you, my prayers with your family, my prayers with Vanessa. I can't wait to see you. And I
mm.
appreciate you just joining me for this conversation today.
Thank you, thank you. I love you, and I think I cannot thank you enough for opening your heart, your space, your friendship, your studio, for community, for medicine, for me. And yeah, I'm receiving it all and can't wait to hug you and have some good medicine together. Yeah, in person.
Absolutely. Safe
Yeah,
travels to Guatemala. And if you could speak my name into the moon,
yes,
I would love
yes, of course I
it.
will. Of course, I'll have you in my heart
I
always.
would love it. Well, wonderful. I'll see you soon.